Danica Lorer, and this is Lit Happens, your celebration of the literary arts here in Saskatchewan. Today, I'm very pleased to welcome our guest, Belinda Betker. Belinda is a prairie-born poet. She's been published in anthologies, literary journals, and chapbook. She is a founding member of the Saskatoon Writers Collective. Her first book of poetry is Phases. Belinda, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invite. I've been looking forward to this.
So I've known you as a poet for several years now,
Yes.
and listened to you read and talk to you in workshops and been at events with the Saskatoon Writers Collective. And I'm just so pleased that you've finally got this beautiful book in your hands. Tell me what that feels like to you.
It's still exciting. The book was launched in October at McNally's, and it's just been, the whole process has been so exciting and so much fun, and getting so many great comments and talking to so many great people. It's just been wonderful.
So when you think about how you've been writing poetry for so many years, did you have to sort of choose really wisely what you wanted to pull together for a book like this?
It was a very interesting process because at first, I was writing individual poems, and you'd send them to a contest or competition or just to a general call out to different magazines. So it was a very long time before I had the idea of a theme in mind, and then narrowing that down and structuring it and finally seeing it as a story in poems.
So tell us a little bit about the theme in Phases.
It's the chronological story of a life. It's partly autobiographical, so there's definitely parts of me in there, but there's parts of other experiences in there as well, and that's how the book evolved. It became a chronological story, and that's how people have been reading it, and a few people called it a page turner, so that was a high praise. And so it's from childhood to teenage angst to marriage, and then to coming out in midlife. And then part of that coming out process was me becoming involved in the drag community and performing as a drag king and having the title as a drag king here in the city for a while. So the last part of the book is about my coming out in midlife and moving into drag and performing as a drag king.
So when you were writing these poems, were you reflecting on where you came from? But did you learn more about yourself as you put pen to paper?
I think I always learn more about myself every poem I write, because sometimes I start off with an idea or a specific spark, and sometimes it just comes from I don't know where, and so those are always surprising occasions and something worth following up on.
Well, and the surprises as a writer are such wonderful things to have happen to us. We don't know. We don't expect that that's what will inspire us to write the next line.
No, I never know where it's coming from.
Can you read to us a little bit from your book?
I'll read the poem that most people have asked me to read or have commented on, and it wasn't one that I expected to have that kind of impact.
And that's an interesting thing, because we find that there are things that we really love in our writing, and the parts of story or the lines that are the ones that feel closest to us. And then everyone else, or they pick something else. And,
they do.
And so
they
it
truly
just shows that story affects us in so many different ways.
Yeah. This is called Why a Parade? For the 4-year-old girl who rejects her dolls and miniature ponies for toy cars, trains, and Lego, and the 7-year-old boy who would rather skate Lutz and axle jumps than play hockey, and the 12-year-old tomboy who cries when her mother insists it's time you wear a bra, and the 13-year-old who has less in common with the guys than his girlfriends, and the 14-year-old who's bored with her friends giggling about really cute guys, and the 18-year-old boy who obsesses about wanting breasts and no penis, and the 25-year-old guy lingering over the glossy pages of Men's Health, and the 31-year-old trans woman who doesn't know how to tell her family she wants sex reassignment surgery, and the 38-year-old wife who agonizes about how to leave her husband for a younger woman, and the 45-year-old husband who cruises dark city parks and for the men he hooks up with, and the 56-year-old widow who discovers romantic love with her longtime lady friend, and the 70-year-old man keeping a hospital vigil for his friend and secret lover, for all of them and all the others who don't identify with gender and sexual norms, who don't fit the stereotypes, labels, and acronyms, who are still discovering their true selves, for all of them and all of us and all our allies. That's why a parade.
Thank you. That's very powerful. And what it does, I think, is it tells us stories.
It does.
But it only gives us a little bit. And then we remember the stories of the people that we know who are in situations that are so similar to that.
And that's what people have related to, whether they're relating personally or about somebody they know or just something they hadn't thought about. And as I said, I chose that poem because so many people relate to it and comment on it and want to hear it again.
Yeah. And it's not just taking you down one path. It's opening you up to so many of the people that are in our lives, people that we love, and people that we don't know well enough because we don't want to listen to the stories of some of the people around us. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and for putting it in a book, because it really is one of those things that will, I think, help people feel less alone.
That's actually some of the comments I've heard as well.
Yeah. So what else are you writing these days?
I'm writing more poetry. I'm working on another poetry collection. There's poems that I really like and have been published that didn't get into this collection. So I think that will be part of the framework for the next collection. And there's also some early feminists that I'm really interested in that I'm trying to figure out how I can maybe do a section or even a collection on their lives, because I just keep getting drawn back to their stories and thinking of them in a poetic form. So,
and it really is. It's a lovely way for people to. It's an accessible way to reach into poetry, to dive in when there's stories, and poetry is it's such a wonderful medium because it can be so broad, but it can be, and people sometimes seem like they're a little bit afraid of it. But when you can tell a story and pull the words together and find those places where we see ourselves in our poems, that's a really wonderful way to find ourselves in poetry.
I agree. It breaks down some of those barriers and some of those fears that people have about poetry that linger from their high school. If poetry was forced at them a little too hard, it's hard to bring people back to poetry. But I think the combination of verse and story in a poem can bring those people in.
Well, Belinda, we're out of time. It's been
already
lovely talking to you today. And I know how important poetry is in people's hands. So where can people find your book?
It's at McNally's. They've been absolutely wonderful in the promotion of this book. I believe it's still in Indigo. It's on Amazon and wherever fine books are sold.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Danica Lorer, and this is Lit Happens. You can find past episodes on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. And if you have an idea for a segment, please contact me at danicalorer@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.